I was sound asleep when the doorbell rang at 5:30 in the morning. December cold had settled deep into Portland, and my first thought was that something terrible had happened. I stumbled to the door in my pajamas, heart pounding. When I opened it, I saw my grandmother Adriana standing there with a single worn suitcase, her eyes red and swollen, shivering in the 28-degree weather. Behind her, my parents' car was already backing out of my driveway. No wave, no explanation, just taillights disappearing into the dark. Grandma looked at me with tears streaming down her face and whispered, "They said you would take me in, Marcus. I am sorry." Before we dive into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below, and if this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What I discovered over the following year completely shattered everything I thought I knew about my own family. Trust me, you will want to stay for this one. I pulled Grandma inside immediately. Her hands were ice cold, trembling so hard she could barely hold the cup of chamomile tea I made for her. I wrapped her in the thickest blanket I owned and turned up the heat, watching the color slowly return to her cheeks. She sat on my couch looking so small, so fragile. Nothing like the strong woman who had taught me to read when I was 4 years old. Between sips of tea, she told me what had happened. My parents had shown up at her house the previous evening, unannounced. They told her that my older brother Tyler was moving back in with them. He needed her room. Just like that. No discussion. No asking how she felt about it. They gave her 30 minutes to pack whatever she could fit into one suitcase, then drove her through the night and left her on my doorstep before the sun even came up. "They said you live alone," she whispered, staring into her teacup. "They said you have an extra room. They said you would understand." I understood all right. I understood exactly what kind of people my parents were. Growing up, I had always been the invisible child in our family. Tyler was 3 years older than me, and from the moment I could form memories, he was the golden boy. He looked just like Dad. He played football in high school. He was loud and charming, and everyone loved him. I was quiet. I preferred books to sports. I worked hard in school, got scholarships, built a career in software engineering without asking anyone for a dime. But somehow being self-sufficient made me easy to ignore. My parents figured I did not need their attention, their praise, their love. Tyler got everything. I got leftover scraps. Grandma Adriana was different. She never played favorites. When Tyler scored a touchdown, she cheered. When I won the science fair, she cheered just as loud. She was the one who sat with me for hours teaching me to read before I started kindergarten. She was the one who encouraged me to apply for engineering programs when my parents said I should just get a regular job like everyone else. She believed in me when no one else did. And now my parents had thrown her away like yesterday's garbage. I waited until 7 in the morning to call my father. I needed those 90 minutes to calm down to make sure I would not say something I could not take back. When he answered, his voice was casual, almost bored, like he had not just abandoned his own mother on a freezing December morning. "Tyler lost his job again," he said, as if that explained everything. "Samantha will not let him see the kids. He is going through a rough time. He needs to stay with us for a while. Get back on his feet." "So you dumped Grandma at my door at 5:30 in the morning." There was a pause. Then he said, "She is your grandmother too, Marcus. You have a house. Tyler has nothing." Mom got on the phone then, her voice doing that fake sweet thing it always did when she wanted to smooth things over. "Honey, your grandmother understands. She agreed to this. She knows Tyler needs the space more than she does right now." I knew that was a lie. Grandma Adriana never would have agreed to being discarded like that. She just did not want to cause trouble. She spent her whole life not wanting to cause trouble, and look where it got her. I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking, not from cold this time, from anger. The first few weeks were an adjustment for both of us. I set up my living room as a temporary bedroom for Grandma, giving her privacy with some curtains I hung from the ceiling. I told her this was just until we figured out a better arrangement, but honestly, I had no idea what that arrangement would look like. I was a 32-year-old bachelor who worked from home. My life was quiet, predictable, and suddenly there was another person in it. What struck me most was how little she had brought with her. That one suitcase contained a few changes of clothes, most of them old and worn. some photographs, a Bible with pages soft from decades of use. That was it. 78 years of life reduced to what could fit in a single bag. Grandma tried so hard not to be a burden. She woke up before me every morning to make breakfast, even though I told her she did not have to. She kept her space meticulously clean. She apologized constantly for everything, for existing in my house, for taking up space, for breathing. It broke my heart. At night, I would hear her moving around at 3 in the morning, unable to sleep. Sometimes I caught her sitting by the window in the dark, staring out at nothing, tears sliding silently down her wrinkled cheeks. She never complained, never said a word about what my parents had done. But the pain was written all over her. 2 weeks after she arrived, a letter came to my house. It had been forwarded from her old address, the house where she had lived for over 40 years, the house where my grandfather had died 15 years ago. The letter was from her bank. I was not trying to snoop, but the envelope was already open, and what I saw inside made my blood run cold. Grandma Adriana owned that house outright, no mortgage. It was worth approximately $450,000 in the current market, and she had a savings account with over $200,000 in it, money she had carefully saved from her teaching pension over the past 15 years. I sat there staring at those numbers, my mind racing. My grandmother was not some broke old woman who needed to be shuffled around like an inconvenience. She had nearly $700,000 in assets. That evening, I asked her about it as gently as I could. "I wanted to leave it all to you boys when I passed," she said softly. "Split evenly between you and Tyler. I never thought it would become a problem while I was still alive." She looked at me with such sadness. "Do you think that is why they—" I did not have an answer, but I was starting to form some very dark suspicions. A month later, Tyler showed up at my door. Not to visit Grandma, not to see how she was doing. He came because Dad had asked him to retrieve some paperwork that Grandma had supposedly left behind at her house. "Just need to grab some documents," he said, pushing past me into the living room. He barely glanced at Grandma sitting in her chair. "Dad says there are some bank statements and property stuff he needs." Why would Dad need Grandma's bank statements? Tyler shrugged like it was the most normal question in the world. "Power of attorney stuff, probably. You know how it is with old people. Someone has to manage their affairs." I stepped in front of him. "Grandma manages her own affairs just fine. And no, you cannot have her documents." His face twisted into something ugly then. That charming golden boy mask slipped right off. "What is your problem, Marcus? You always do this, always have to be the good one, the perfect one, making the rest of us look bad. You think taking in Grandma makes you some kind of saint? I think you should leave." "You are not better than me," he spat. "You never were. You just got lucky. Good grades, good job, nice little house. Some of us actually had to struggle." From across the room, I heard Grandma make a small sound. When I turned, she was watching Tyler with an expression I had never seen before. It was not anger. It was something worse. It was the look of someone finally seeing the truth about a person they had loved their whole life. Tyler left without the documents, but the damage was done. 3 months after Grandma came to live with me, she fell in the bathroom. I heard the crash from my home office and found her on the tile floor, dazed and frightened. Thankfully, nothing was broken, just some bruises and a wounded dignity. But it scared both of us badly. I took her to the doctor the next day. The physician was a kind woman who took her time, asked lots of questions, ran several tests. When she called me into her office afterward, her face was serious. "Your grandmother is physically healthy for her age," she said. "But I am concerned about her mental state. She is showing signs of depression. She mentioned feeling like a burden, like she has no purpose anymore. Has something happened recently that might have triggered this?" I told her the whole story. The early morning abandonment, the brother who did not care, the parents who threw her away to make room for someone else. The doctor listened without interrupting, then shook her head slowly. "She needs stability," she said. "She needs to feel valued and loved. The worst thing for elderly patients is feeling like they are disposable." That night, I called my parents to tell them about the fall and the doctor's diagnosis. Mom's response hit me like a punch to the gut. "Well, she is 78, she said with a sigh. "These things happen when you get old." Dad did not answer when I called him. He never called back. Tyler did not respond to my text message either. I sat in my dark kitchen that night, rage burning in my chest, making a promise to myself. They might have given up on Grandma Adriana, but I never would. 6 months passed, and slowly everything began to change. I rearranged my work schedule so I could spend more time with Grandma. We started taking morning walks together in the park near my house, short distances at first, then longer as her strength improved. I found a gentle yoga class for seniors at the community center and drove her there twice a week. She was hesitant at first, embarrassed to be around strangers, but within a month she had made friends, real friends, women her own age who laughed at her jokes and invited her to book club meetings. The transformation was remarkable. The woman who had arrived on my doorstep broken and hollow was coming back to life. She started cooking again, elaborate meals from recipes she remembered from her childhood. She sang while she worked in the kitchen, old songs in Spanish that her own grandmother had taught her. She slept through the night now, no more 3 a.m. wandering. One evening, 8 months after that terrible December morning, Grandma called me into her room for a serious conversation. She was sitting on her bed with a folder of papers in her lap, her expression calm but determined. "I have been thinking about this for a long time," she said, "and I have made a decision. I want to change my will." "Grandma, you do not have to." She held up her hand to stop me. "Let me finish. I am leaving everything to you, Marcus. The house, the savings, all of it. You are the only one who treated me like a person instead of a problem to be solved. You gave me a home when my own son threw me away." "But what about Tyler? What about Mom and Dad?" She smiled, but there was steel underneath it. "They made their choice. Now I am making mine." She had already contacted a lawyer. The new will was drawn up, reviewed, signed, and witnessed. It was completely legal and completely ironclad. She even had her doctor provide a letter confirming she was mentally competent and making this decision of her own free will. "I am not doing this out of spite," she told me. "I am doing it because it is right. You earned this, Marcus, not by sucking up to me or trying to get something. You earned it by simply being kind when everyone else was cruel." I did not know what to say. I just held her hand and let the tears fall. 10 months after Grandma moved in with me, the bomb finally dropped. Somehow my parents found out about the will. I suspect Tyler did some digging, maybe contacted the lawyer pretending to be checking on Grandma's affairs. However, it happened on a Sunday afternoon in October. All three of them showed up at my house. Dad was red-faced and furious before he even got through the door. "What the hell have you done?" he shouted at me. "Manipulating a confused old woman to steal our inheritance." Mom was crying, which was her go-to move whenever she wanted sympathy. "Marcus, how could you? We trusted you to take care of her, and you took advantage." Tyler stood behind them with his arms crossed, a smug look on his face. "I told you," he said to Dad. "I told you he was up to something. The quiet ones always are." Grandma Adriana stood up from her chair. She was small, barely 5 feet tall, but in that moment she seemed to fill the entire room. Her voice was steady and strong, nothing like the broken whisper of the woman they had dumped on my doorstep almost a year ago. "Richard," she said, looking directly at my father, "I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. I worked double shifts to put you through college. I gave you the down payment for your first house. I babysat your children for free for years. And when I became inconvenient, you left me on a doorstep at 5:30 in the morning like I was a piece of furniture you did not want anymore." Dad opened his mouth to argue, but she was not finished. "Do you know what that felt like? To realize that my own son saw me as nothing but a burden to be discarded? I cried myself to sleep every night for months. I thought about dying, Richard. I thought it would be easier for everyone if I just was not here anymore." The room went completely silent. Mom stopped fake crying. Tyler uncrossed his arms. Even Dad seemed to shrink. "Marcus saved my life," Grandma continued. "Not just by giving me a place to stay, but by making me feel like I mattered. He took me to doctors. He took me to make friends. He sat with me when I could not sleep and told me I was not a burden. He treated me like a human being." She picked up a folder from the side table. The legal documents. "This will is valid. My doctor has confirmed I am mentally competent. My lawyer has confirmed everything is in order. You can contest it if you want, but you will lose and you will waste a lot of money doing it. Mother, please, Dad said, his voice suddenly soft. We can work this out. We did not mean to hurt you. We just… Tyler needed… Tyler needed… Grandma repeated, her voice sharp. Tyler always needed, and you always gave. And I always understood because that is what mothers do. But I am done understanding. I am done being the one who sacrifices so Tyler can have more. She turned to my brother. Tyler, I love you. I will always love you. But you are 35 years old, and you have spent your entire adult life taking from everyone around you. Your parents, your wife, your children, me. It is time you learned that actions have consequences. Tyler's face went pale, then red. He looked like he wanted to explode, but for once in his life he had nothing to say. Grandma looked at all three of them, her eyes clear and calm. You chose Tyler over me. Now I am choosing Marcus over all of you. Please leave my grandson's house. They left. They did not have a choice. There was nothing more to say, no argument that could undo a year of neglect and cruelty. I watched from the window as they drove away, and I felt something I had not expected to feel. Not triumph, not satisfaction, just a profound, bone-deep relief. When I turned around, Grandma was crying. I went to her and held her, and we stood like that for a long time. Thank you for catching me, Marcus, she whispered against my shoulder. Always, Grandma, always. It has been 1 year now since that December morning when my parents left Grandma Adriana on my doorstep. 365 days that changed both of our lives in ways I never could have predicted. Grandma sold her old house last spring. She used some of the money to help me renovate my place, adding a proper bedroom suite on the ground floor so she would not have to navigate stairs. The rest she invested, insisting that it would all be mine eventually anyway. She volunteers at the local elementary school, now tutoring children who are struggling with reading just like she taught me all those years ago. The teachers adore her. The kids call her Grandma Adriana too, like the title is something she earned, not something she was simply born into. She comes home with drawings they made for her crayon portraits of a smiling old woman with hearts all around her. She hangs every single one on the refrigerator. I got promoted at work a few months ago. My boss said I seemed more focused, more grounded, happier than I had been in years. He was right. Coming home to someone who loves you unconditionally, who makes dinner and asks about your day, and actually listens to the answer. That changes a person. It changed me. As for my parents and Tyler, well, some things never change. Tyler still has not found steady work. He is living in my parents' basement now, exactly where Grandma's room used to be. Dad's health has not been great, and Mom looks exhausted every time I see photos of them on Facebook. I do not call them. They do not call me. That is probably for the best. A few weeks ago, Mom reached out to Grandma. Just a short phone call, her voice quiet and hesitant. She asked how Grandma was doing, if she needed anything. Grandma was polite but distant. She did not offer forgiveness, but she did not offer cruelty either. She simply let Mom know that she was fine, that she was happy, that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. I am not angry at them anymore, she told me after she hung up. Anger is too heavy to carry forever, but I am also not foolish enough to forget what they did. I can forgive without giving them the chance to hurt me again. That might be the most important thing she has taught me this year. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Boundaries are not the same as grudges. You can let go of bitterness without letting toxic people back into your life. I think about that December morning sometimes. The shock of seeing Grandma shivering on my doorstep. The taillights of my parents' car disappearing into the darkness. The way she apologized to me for being there like her very existence was an imposition. They thought they were getting rid of a burden. What they actually did was give me a gift. They thought she was worthless because she was old and needed help. What they did not realize was that she had more to offer than all of them combined. Love, wisdom, strength. The kind of grace that comes from surviving hard things and choosing kindness anyway. I am not the forgotten son anymore. I am the one Grandma chose. I am the one who caught her when everyone else let her fall. And honestly, that matters more to me than any inheritance ever could. If you are watching this and you have someone in your life who makes you feel like a burden, I want you to know something. You are not worthless. You are not disposable. The people who treat you that way are showing you who they are. Believe them. And then find the people who see your value. They are out there. I promise. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been thrown away by someone who was supposed to love you? And did you find your way to people who truly appreciated you? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story meant something to you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss more stories like this one. And remember, sometimes being discarded is just life's way of placing you exactly where you are meant to be. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourselves and take care of the people who take care of you. You never know when a cold December morning might turn into the beginning of the best chapter of your life.